Hello everybody, welcome to this reading. So this reading is meant to pay honor and respect to Martin Luther King Jr. in honor of Martin Luther King Jr. Day and the legacy that he left behind to all of us who want to carry on with the dream that he put forth, the dream for a better world, a world of equity and peace and love and respect. And so for all of you out there who see yourselves also as world changers, as healers, social justice warriors, activists, people who are actively making sacrifices in order to bring about this better world, healers, light workers, prophets, visionaries, people who can uphold the vision and help us to see how to get there. So for all of you with big hearts who want to bring more love into the world, what do your guides have to say to you now, at this moment, this particular moment in human history, of how to persevere? One of the aspects of Martin Luther King's legacy is that he was killed. He was assassinated for this good work that he was doing. And of course, we've seen that play out throughout history. Jesus Christ was crucified for trying to bring more love into the world. So when that's what we're facing, what can we do? How can we persevere? Or just what do we need to hear? If this is the work that we're doing, what do our spirit guides want us to know and understand? All right, so we have three options here. I think for this reading, probably you could get a wonderful message no matter which reading you chose. So if you want to watch more than one, I think that that's very appropriate. But whatever you feel is right for you. I'll hold up these cards in a moment. They're from the Adinkra Oracle cards by Ship Sud. And I'll let you see the options. So option number one is this cover card. It says, Nyame Nuu Na Mawu, God won't die for me to die. A symbol of the immortality of man's soul. So you can use the timestamps below once you've decided which reading or readings call out most to you. This number two is Natisi, understanding, a symbol for understanding and cooperation. Now, I just shuffled and allowed Spirit to choose which of these cards would come up to be the cover cards, but they all really make sense for the theme of this reading. The third one is Kuma, heart, a symbol of patience and tolerance. All right. So those are the three readings that are available. So use those timestamps, guys, and I'll see you at your reading. Okay, welcome to everyone who chose option number one. It says, this is a positive card showing soulful connection with spirit. You are protected and blessed. Your angel guides and spirit guides are surrounding you. All right, so you are blessed and protected right now in doing this work that you're doing. Let's see what else we have to say. Shaolin Master. Be graceful in movement and action. So I do feel like you're a very powerful person. You have a lot of power. I almost feel like you have your own sort of spiritual protection even within you. There is an aura of kind of don't mess with me. So people do see your power, first of all. Oh, we also have Oracle, wait for important information, and Shapeshifter. I feel like in terms of being a world changer, your guides are going to be wanting you to do something, and it's because of this power that you have. You have inherently power within you, but you've also developed it through maybe meditation. Some of you maybe even through some sort of martial arts. But I feel like, we have the yin-yang symbol here as well. So I feel like you guys are not afraid of the lightness or the darkness. You can embrace both, and that's part of your strength, is that you're not afraid to use maybe the tools of darkness against it if necessary. But I feel like you're wise enough to know when that's necessary and to do that wisely, and not to overuse the tools of evil, the bad side. But yeah, you're always, I feel like, trying to bring about something greater in the world, but you are not scared of anything. I think that's one of the reasons you've been called to do this work. We also have this dragon in the background. So dragon energy, if dragons are working with you, or if you have any sort of, association with calling upon or utilizing dragon power, that is just inherently a very, very powerful energy, and you know how to use it. Again, you're not using your force in a way that overpowers people unnecessarily, but if it is necessary, then you will show people the strength of your full power, and they're probably not gonna be bothering you again after that. But yeah, I mean, I think that people know to kind of back down from you a little bit, so you bring that to this movement to fulfill this greater dream and vision of a better world. Now, like I said, we have this oracle here. I think that you are psychic as well, and so information is going to be coming to you about what your next move should be in terms of whatever work that you're personally doing to bring about this better world. We also have shapeshifter, and to me that goes back again to that yin yang. Transform and unveil your gifts. Your gifts are already very powerful, but they're continuing to develop. So you're definitely someone who is utilizing your psychic powers, not just your worldly intellect or bravery, but this is like a very psychic power that you're drawing upon. Your gifts are going to be revealed greater and greater. And we have this snake's kind of symbol over this wolf as well. I don't know if you can see it, but again, it reminds me of someone who's definitely not afraid of drawing upon the power of the malevolent world, the world that wants to continue to persist in these structures that are oppressive. You'll say, hey, if I need to draw upon your power in order to empower myself against you, then I will do that, because that side, the evil side, the oppressive side, does that all the time. So, okay, so we're also going to use this Keep Calm and Trust God deck. I did this last year for Martin Luther King Jr. as well, a similar type of reading, and I also use these cards because, of course, Martin Luther King was a Christian reverend. These aren't all Bible verses. You can see this one's from Anne Frank, but oh my gosh, this is perfect. God arms me with strength and he makes my way perfect. Yes. So things are going to be made easier for you. You are strong. You don't even need God to make the way perfect for you. But still, it will be so. How wonderful it is that nobody need wait a single moment before starting to improve the world. Anne Frank. Yeah. So we said that there's something important that your guides want to tell you, and that it will be a time to take action. But this is a reminder that, of course, in small ways, we can always be doing that. But I think that there's something big that's going to be coming along as well. So we'll use tarot to kind of clarify these messages as well. And we have like an important question here we'll get to in a moment. This is a question that Spirit helped me to create because Spirit also wanted to answer it in the reading. So this might be a question that's on your mind. And then we have, you will be secure because there is hope. You will look about you and take your rest in safety. Yes, so whenever you're losing hope, remember that the hope in and of itself, and of course it's difficult to persevere in light of, what a chaotic and violent and destructive world we live in. This is a reminder, you will be secure because there is hope. There's always hope. You will look about you and take your rest in safety. All right, you're very spiritually protected. And I feel like again, I'm drawn back to this card. I feel like throughout lifetimes your soul has been doing this type of work. So let's see what this question is, and if it's already being answered by any of the existing cards, or we'll need to pull more cards. Probably we'll do kind of both. Okay. So again, I was trying to think of things that we needed to address that would be helpful for people, and I was pulling cards, and Spirit helped me to kind of conduct the question that now Spirit wants to answer. Anyway, it says, is there a way to be in control and to be powerful that does not cause pain to others? Even when we feel that we are embracing power for the purpose of good, how can we be sure that there will not be a time when we look back at these moments and realize that we exerted our power wrongly? How can we embrace our personal power in a way that is inspiring and empowers others rather than diminishing them? We want to be the life-giving sun. We do not want to cause sunburn. So it's, again, all of this, I obviously I wrote these beforehand, but I laid out the cards without looking and put these in the piles without looking. But it definitely makes sense because you all do have a lot of power. And as we said before, you're not afraid of using the power of darkness against darkness if necessary. So let me see. Let's see. Use this deck here, I think. So how can we use our power to inspire and empower others without causing harm? How can we be the life-giving sun? So in terms of being able to use the power of darkness against it. So Spirit is acknowledging that sometimes it feels as though there is no other way to get where we want to go than to do that. And there's a part of us, and Spirit is saying the reason you're even asking this question is because there is a part of you that doesn't feel totally fine with doing that. And Spirit is also acknowledging that all of us move through our higher selves and our lower selves throughout our lifespan. So first of all, they're saying, yes, you may be questioning this. Yes, it may have been a last resort for you to engage in the tools of darkness, is just the expression that I'm using. Hopefully that makes sense. The tools of the oppressor, let's say it that way. The tools of the oppressor. You've used the tools of the oppressor, or you're willing to do that against the oppressor. You're uncertain if this is correct. There's a reason that you feel that way, but we do want to remind you that all of us are moving in and out of our higher selves all the time. In this deck, there are two versions of the Ten of Swords. There's this one, which is the Ten of Swords, and this other one that says everything is fine. So they just want to say, you've been knowing that this isn't totally fine, or it doesn't feel totally fine with you to be using your power in this way, to be using your power in the way that the oppressor may have used power. And they're saying, if there's any pain that you feel from that, release that pain. Acknowledge that you're human. And like Spirit was saying before, we're always moving into our higher self and down. And that's kind of how we progress. We learn our lessons. Sometimes we can get to the point where we move more to the center of the wheel, and then we don't have those ups and downs as much. But if this has happened and you've utilized your power in a way that you don't necessarily feel great about, they're just kind of saying, let it go. Surrender to that moment passed. It is not helping you to overthink or to overanalyze or to worry or judge yourself. This is a long journey, and it will take a lot of work, and it will take consistent effort. It may not come about as quickly as you want. So there may be moments when you think using the tools of the oppressor will get you there more quickly. But even if it does, it won't be the world that you want, because the tools of the oppressor will still be present. If the tools of the oppressor created this world, the new world that you're trying to create, it won't be the world that you want, because you're wanting a world without oppression. They want to remind you that you are not someone to be drawn into small conflicts, that you are above that. That when you allow yourself to be drawn into small battles, then you're not embracing your power as the Empress or the Emperor. This is someone whose power is so great that they don't need to engage in these small battles. You can just focus on the big battles. So especially if you've overused your power in a situation where it's really just someone is being irritating or someone is being frustrating, then they're saying, you know, you're better than that and you already know it. Yeah. They do want to remind you that intelligence and wisdom and being able to strategize, being able to kind of put emotional needs aside in order to get to the point and be direct, that there's nothing inherently oppressive about that. So if you're just merely being strategic, if you're being very direct and you're not like, you know, being mindful of everyone's emotions in every moment and trying to be super sensitive, there's nothing oppressive about just being kind of matter of fact. So if that's something that you've been doing, then they're saying, you know, this is just you being in the place of intelligence and being strategic. It isn't always very strategic to be super sensitive about everyone's emotions all the time. Sometimes you just have to get down to business and get things done. And finally, I think in relation to that question of, you know, I want to be the sun, the life-giving sun, but not give sunburn. They're reminding you that you are doing that. You definitely have that power. You're a very inspirational person. You do stand out in some way where people notice you and they do get this kind of life-giving or vitalizing energy from you. This black cat here is reminding me that, or is making me think that, you know, Spirit's always there to protect you. You don't necessarily have to invoke that, the energy of the quote-unquote dark side, just in order to protect yourself. You command respect merely by being the respectable person that you are. Beyond that, another reminder that just you are always protected. But God won't die for you to die. So God is not going to protect you if you're behaving foolishly, or if you are overusing your power. And in fact, God will get in your way if that's what you do. God will impede you from progressing if that's your approach. Yes. The Emperor reversed. Yeah, you won't. If you find that you're not getting ahead, it could be that you're not progressing in terms of this world change. It could be that you are using the tools of the oppressor, or that you are utilizing your power in some way that is unfairly dominating others when it isn't necessary. Okay, so what's your guidance to us? Change doesn't have to happen as quickly as perhaps what you would want it to. They're reminding you that part of the change is the vision itself. The vision of this better world is something that is continuing to be developed. It comes from your heart and mind, and it comes from the collective heart and mind. Everyone together, collectively, what everyone is capable of envisioning is helping to create this better world. So it's, in some ways, rather than trying to force or push things ahead more quickly, which might require us to draw upon these more kind of, excessive uses of power or misuse of power, it might be better to kind of like, if we don't know how to make things happen more quickly, focus on the vision itself. You know, because again, our capacity to envision the best possible world is always changing, because our own experiences, you know, either open us up to being able to see that greater vision, or they close it off. Our willpower, everything, our heart, all of these things come together. And Spirit is saying that the vision itself is so important in order to be able to go through this doorway and really get to that better world. It's like on this death card, we can be trying to negotiate with death, right? But look off in the distance. That's what we should be focusing on, that distant vision. Instead of continuing, if we continue to engage in these, they're kind of like ego battles, really. We think that we're winning against, the bad side, but really, sometimes it can be an ego battle. And what we could be doing instead is looking over here towards the vision and knowing that this is possible, that we don't have to get trapped trying to negotiate with evil or trying to negotiate with the oppressor. Sometimes negotiation, and I've never noticed this before, there's this little sailboat here on this river, and it's almost like sometimes we need to just let it go. Again, kind of like with that Ten of Swords that we saw earlier. And just to say, yeah, the power structures are what they are, and this is not that better world. It's obvious that it isn't, right? But sometimes we have to let that go, like a sailboat that we put into the water, and just let it flow down the river and just let it go, so that we can again go back to the vision. Final thoughts for reading number 1. Oh, they're just reminding you, yes, you are this sunlight, and you do bring so much joy into the world, and that is important. And it's important for you not to lose sight of joy. Because how can you envision the joyful world that you want if you can't even acknowledge the joyfulness that is here now already? And there is joyfulness here already. Spirit is saying that if we place our heart more, if the focus of our heart is more on this joy, then it's easier for us to let go of what hurts us, of what makes us feel that we are powerless, and then that has less power. Because we're focusing on what empowers us. You know, we want to be that inspiring force, but they're saying, look to that inspiration, look to that light in the world around you and other people. You know, draw your power from those who are shining their light very brightly as well, so that you don't lose sight. If all you can focus on are the oppressors, if all you can focus on are the powers of evil, the misuse of power in the world, the abuses of power, I mean, yes, you have to know that it's there, but at this point you kind of already do, so you don't have to excessively focus on that. You're going to be a lot happier and a lot more capable of doing this work if you can let that go. Otherwise, you could get stuck in this place of sadness, of this place of, nothing is fair, this place of hurt, of resentfulness, and that could get you stuck. I'll draw 3 more cards. They're saying that you don't have to choose anymore which path. If you already know which path you're choosing, you don't have to keep looking back to the other path to see what's going on with the other path. There will be people who choose the other path. That might feel like a burden to you. Just the mere idea that there are other people choosing the oppressive path, choosing the path of self-interest, choosing the path of greed, of misuse of power. There will be always people choosing that path, but you've already chosen your path, and that's what you need to focus on, is your path. And if you continue to put effort into, although it is hard, it is a struggle, it is a burden, but if you continue to walk your path and not pay so much attention to the other path that other people might be choosing, then you will gain so much ground in this lifetime. And by the end of your lifetime, you will feel that you have done something very substantial very substantial to assist in bringing about this better world. When Martin Luther King left the world, he did not leave it at the place of his dream, right? He had a dream, and when he left it, that dream had not been fulfilled. Clearly, it has still not yet been fulfilled. But look what he accomplished in his lifetime and the legacy that he left. Likewise, if you focus on your path of goodness, of righteousness, of bringing about this better, more loving world, then you will leave it with the legacy of having done just that, and there will be some sort of like substantial progress that you will have helped to make. And that will be a wonderful way to leave the world, knowing that you did that. So anyway, I hope that this was helpful. I think it gave me a better insight into some things. So I hope it did you as well. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye. All right, welcome to everyone who chose reading number 2, a symbol for understanding and cooperation. It says, with understanding, we can solve this issue. Ego should be put aside and involved parties should cooperate for positive outcomes. So maybe you're involved in something that whatever way that you're approaching world change will be better served by putting aside ego, which of course is difficult. It's part of the human stain, isn't it? The ego. But we'll see what else Spirit has to say. Okay, we have snake, shed old skin. We have warrior, be fearless and stand strong. And drum, dream and journey. So far this is feeling kind of similar to pile 1. Okay. So I'm feeling like, this shedding the ego, of course, it's a continual process. You hear that phrase, ego death, but you can't just have, it's not, people don't experience an ego death and then all of a sudden the ego is just gone. An ego death it chips away at the ego. There's a significant loss of ego during what people refer to as an ego death. Or sometimes if people take mushrooms, they can experience a complete ego death, but it's momentary. It doesn't last. It just allows them to know it reminds them of what their soul experiences when it is in spirit, when it's in the astral plane and it's not attached to ego the way that it is here. And that inspires people a lot of times. It awakens their Kundalini energy more, and it helps them to walk more of an egoless path, because it helps people to understand the importance or how wonderful it is to be free of the ego. But I feel like what is saying here is that, ego death, it's a continual process. It's like the snake shedding its skin. Snakes don't just shed their skin once, right? They shed their skin many times as they continue to grow and evolve. And so Spirit is reminding you of this as well. This isn't, when we talk about reducing the power of the ego in order to be able to understand and cooperate with people more, it doesn't mean that it's just something we do like that and then we don't have to attend to that anymore. And ego is gone, so we don't have to worry about ego anymore. Not that we should be worried about it per se, but we're going to always have to acknowledge the presence of ego and work through it and continue to shed those skins. And then we have warrior, be fearless and stand strong, drum, dream, and journey. I feel a message here for you guys of the fact that, yes, you are very strong, you're very brave, you're willing to face up against the opposition, the oppressor, those who are misusing their power. But they want to remind you that there is like this sacred energy that revitalizes you, which is about going back to like the drum circle, literally or figuratively, like connecting to other people in this way where your souls are able to express themselves together, and you feel that power of community and collective dreaming. Yeah, so in that sense, it is bringing up some of the same themes of number 1. But I think that they want you to sort of try to remain balanced as well. Some of doing our shadow work is part of it, but also like, stepping into the light and just having joyful moments of spiritual connectivity with other people where we can dream together. Let's see what else we have. Now, this is the second year I've done this to honor Martin Luther King on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And I used these cards before as well. They're these Keep Calm and Trust God. Most of them have Bible verses. Not all of them do. But because he was a Christian reverend and that was very important to him and the way he approached his own work as a world changer, as a liberator, then I wanted to use them here. But this one says, blessed are those whose hope is in their Lord, their God. And for you, for everyone, it's going to be a little bit different how we conceive of God, right? Let's look at what's on the back. When odds are 1 in a million, be that one. Yeah, so sometimes it feels we have to be courageous merely for the fact that the odds seem to be against us. For thousands of years, oppression has existed. It's not new. It's not like it just happened. It just came out of nowhere. It's been here for a long time. So the odds do seem to be against those of us who want to rise up against that and create an equitable world where people can just exist in peace and harmony and cooperation and understanding and all of that. I entrust you to God and the message of his grace that is able to build you up and give you an inheritance. So there's a lot here about trusting your higher power, however you conceive of that. Some people feel comfortable using the word God. Some people who have stepped away from or never wanted to be involved in organized religion, can have a difficult time with that. But however you conceive of this higher power, the universe, the source, love, but it's having trust and faith in that is a very strong message here, that trust and faith are something that you need to draw upon. And I'm leaving you with a gift, peace of mind and heart, so don't be troubled or afraid. Yes, so much here about having faith, and that part of your strength will come from letting go of those worries, letting go of the concerns. Submit to God and be at peace with him. In this way, prosperity will come to you. These are all kind of like saying the same thing in different ways. Never be afraid to trust an unknown future to a known God. Oh my gosh, it's just driving this message home very strongly. Yeah. So maybe you all are feeling just very uncertain. Of course, it feels like we're in very uncertain times. And it can be difficult to trust that the future could be brighter than it is. Okay. So I also want to tap into this. Now, when I was preparing for this reading, I drew some cards. I was trying to come up with some questions that we could pose about, specifically the difficulties of being a world changer. And Spirit helped me to come up with the question so that Spirit can now in the reading answer the question for us. I hope that makes sense. So this is what yours says. Okay. And it makes sense for all of this, like needing hope, feeling that we need to have hope and faith. All right, how do we stand up for what we know is right in the face of a world that seems so designed around greed and power that anything else has so little space to make itself known? It is like being a beautiful, delicate flower that is trying to grow up through the concrete of the structures that currently exist. How do we do that? Okay, so one thing, of course, they're already giving us this very strong answer of having faith. Have faith that it is possible. That little flower, you've seen it before. You've seen flowers growing up through the concrete. So we know that that is possible. When the odds are 1 in a million, be that one flower that grew up through that concrete. So you believe that it's possible, and God is showing us that it's possible through these examples of when it has happened, when the odds were 1 in a million. So let's see what else. Okay, 2 of Cups. So they're reminding you that you're not the only one who feels this way. You have, and that reminds me of this drum card as well. Dream and journey. Yes, there are other people who share this vision. So don't lose sight of that. And that also can be a source of strength and sort of a lighthouse to you to help keep you focused towards this promise, and keep you aligned with this faith and hope. There are other people of a like mind. Other people do see that they also want to grow up through this concrete of the existing power structures. Other people want that as well. There might be times when you feel like there are more people who don't want it, that there are more people who don't understand you than the people you do. And maybe at times you even try to use your strength to try to convince people to believe as you do. And it's frustrating because you're like, why don't you see it? Why can't you see that this is all concrete? And, here we are trying to be these flowers, and we can't do that because of all the concrete. These other people are just not necessarily going to understand. Like literally, she's sitting on concrete and she doesn't care. She's like, you're offering her this idea of a different way of seeing the world, and she's like, no. And there are going to be people like that. Some people are okay with the status quo, or it's just not something that they are willing or capable of questioning. So I think Spirit is saying, it's going to be better served for you to maybe focus on the people who do, and then again, recognize the degree to which maybe it's your ego that is causing you to be so bothered by the fact that not everyone sees this the way that you do. Is that your ego, in fact, that's causing the problem more so than it is the fact that these people don't see it? So what Spirit would say to focus on is to let go of the stronghold of your own ego, is way more important than trying to convince anyone else that your belief system is correct, or that they should care about the things that you care about. And they want you to be satisfied and happy and focus on the joy and the emotional fulfillment of knowing that there are people of a like mind in the world. You're not the only one who wants to draw in this vision. You're not the only one who wants to fulfill this dream. You don't have to do it alone. And Spirit is waking more and more people up also. So it isn't necessarily your job to wake people up. Some people will be woken up simply by seeing you as an example. Not because you're telling them what to do, because they may look at you and see you as an example, and it may wake them up for that reason. But it's, ultimately, the divine is leading people to wake up. And that is just happening. We're going through this process of ascension, and people are waking up. Spirit is leading them to the insights that they need to have in order to do that. So Spirit is saying, you trying to force people to believe the way that you do is not necessarily the way that Spirit will ultimately wake this person up. So maybe it isn't necessary to waste your energy there. And again, like we said, it could be good to say, you know what, maybe it's just my ego that is causing me to be so bothered by this. Yeah. And also they're just asking you to yourself be empowered, because you are someone who has leadership abilities, and I think that you are someone that people do look to. So you really don't necessarily have to tell people what to believe. I think people will naturally sort of want to understand your belief system more, want to understand your approach to life more. And the people who don't, and there may be people like coming in and out of your life too. Some people are in the same energy with you for a time, and then they're not, and that's okay. It's okay for you to not be in their energy. It's okay for them to not be in yours. And when you come together, that's beautiful. But they're saying, to kind of like use your power wisely. Use your influence wisely. Otherwise, it's almost like wasting money. It doesn't matter how much money a person has if they're just wasting it, right? I mean, it would be the same as if you had 2 pennies. You could have 2 pennies and be better off than someone who has $2 million if that person with $2 million is just wasting their money. You could actually end up with more than them in the end. So your power and influence, I think they're saying, is, first of all, it's stronger than what you think, so you don't have to exert it in the way of ego. You just have to kind of be in alignment with your spiritual truth, and that the power of what you stand for will kind of emanate from that. Okay, anything else here? Spirit feels that sometimes you work too hard to try to force cooperation or to force understanding. Yes. So you might be the type of person who really feels that other people need to see the world the way that you do, and that will be necessary in order to bring about a better world. But I think your guides are disagreeing here. And again, they're just saying that is ego, and that ego will trip you up every time. It's like, I feel like ego is this like shadow person in the water here. These people are wearing masks. You know, they're not really being true to themselves. And the thing is, if you ask someone else not to be true to themselves by believing what you believe when it isn't really what they believe, then you're asking that person to wear a mask as well. Okay. Any final thoughts here? There are beautiful, important milestones coming, and in terms of that 1 in a million and that little flower that's able to break free and grow up through the concrete, they want you to know that you're going to be seeing more of those moments in the world. And those moments will be healing to you. They want you to draw upon those as moments of healing. When you see that 1 in a million happening, where a beautiful flower grows up through the concrete, someone decides to step into an energy that is unique and beautiful and delicate and loving, and they made it. They made it just through that, you know, through that energy of delicate lovingness. They made it in some way. They were able to push through the structures that exist and make their own influence known in a powerfully loving way. When you see people do that, your guides are saying, let that be a source of healing to you. Let it be like, you know, there's rain here on the 3 of Swords. You know, this heart needs to be healed. The rain will cleanse it, and it will be like nourishment. If you allow those moments when you see these milestones of the power structure being slowly broken apart by these beautiful little flowers that push up through it, that will be like rain to your soul, to germinate that own little, the seed within you that is struggling to do the same thing, and you will also burst through. It will be so healing for you to notice the ways in which these, what might seem like small successes, add up. And before you know it, there will be no more concrete. It will be all beautiful flowers who have burst forth. So I think that's pretty much all that the message is that I'm getting for number 2. Thank you for watching this. Thank you for being someone who cares so much about making the world a better place and for all the effort that you put into that. I hope that this was helpful in some way to you. All right. Thanks, guys. I'll see you later. Bye-bye. All right. Welcome to everyone who chose number 3, the heart, a symbol of patience and tolerance. It says, you are being invited to stabilize your energy and to allow the life force to flow through you without force or resistance. It's time to recover your flow and get your life back into order and balance. Okay, so allowing life to flow through you without force or resistance. So being more in touch with your life force. Let's see how else that kind of plays out with, okay, see we have Broken Arrow. And these were from Kyle Gray's Angels and Ancestors deck, by the way. Whoopsie. Okay, and then Druid, hold the space. Yeah, I think that spirit is asking you to hold space for yourself. I see this beautiful little baby deer. It's just so gentle. I feel like you're being asked to be very gentle and loving with yourself right now, because you're kind of like a broken arrow. It says embrace the energy of peace. And I think for you guys, the best thing that you can do right now is to find peace within yourself, within your own heart, and just be sweet and tender towards yourself so that life force can flow through you again. And I think that that doing that will allow you then to hold space for other people and to hold space for this better world. I'm also going to be using this Keep Calm and Trust God deck. Most of these are Bible verses, and I'm using that for this specific deck. I did this last year as well when I did my Martin Luther King reading for World Changers, because he was a Christian reverend, and that was kind of the source of a lot of, you know, how he approached his work. Okay, so this one says, "Be strong and take heart, all you who hope in the Lord." So, and for you, like maybe it isn't the Lord in terms of Christianity, but in, you could say, in goodness or in love. Be strong and take heart, all you who hope in love, perhaps. Trust the past to God's mercy, the present to God's love, and the future to God's providence. So see, they're not all Bible verses, but yeah, so there's a lot here about trust, and I think that right now you guys can trust that everything will be okay if you just kind of step aside and are gentle and caring towards yourself. So give yourself a little bit of a retreat. The pile 1 and pile 2 were much more like warrior type energies, and that doesn't mean that you don't have the warrior within you as well. You may not. Maybe you're someone who is just this gentle, sweet, loving energy, and your role isn't to be a warrior per se. But right now, what you need to do is just be sweet towards yourself. And I think that empowers you maybe to be like a sweet and gentle energy for other people, and that helps them as well. But let's see what else. So here's a Helen Keller quote. "One can never consent to creep when one feels an impulse to soar." Yeah. So basically, like, live up to your potential. Don't be creeping along the ground like a little bug when you know that you can soar like a bird. Know your potential, step into that potential. And I think for you guys, it's like there's so much sweetness and kind of delicate energy with you all to be embraced. And that is how you can embrace, your owl energy, your bird energy, your ability to take flight and really see the higher perspective. It's by staying in touch with the sweetness of your own heart. May our Lord Jesus Christ himself and God our Father encourage your hearts and strengthen you in every good deed and word. So there you go. Yeah, so the more, good deeds and words you engage in, the more you will be strengthened to become more of the same, to become more and more of this gentle, sweet, beautiful, loving person. Delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. The strength of a man consists in finding out the way in which God is going and going in that way too. So I guess just keep getting this message that for you guys, God is going in the way of love. And if you go in the way of love, you will be going in the flow of that, and you will be very much strengthened. And it will bring you all of the goodness and wonderfulness that you are wanting out of your life, and what you're wanting for everyone. It will bring about the desires of your heart in terms of world change and the kind of world that you want people to be able to live in. Okay, so this is a question that Spirit helped me to come up with. I wanted to have a question for each of these piles about, because it can be difficult to persevere or to even understand how to approach world change sometimes. So Spirit helped me to create the question that now Spirit will be answering for us. So let's see what it is. It says, how is it that sometimes we can be so smart, so intelligent, so wise, and yet have absolutely no idea how to move forward effectively? Is it better to be appreciative of the moment, of what has already been achieved, or is it better to be always seeking more? In other words, as we are trying so hard to make the world progress, are we somehow losing sight of the wisdom of recognizing the beauty of what we already have? It does feel like for you guys right now, the message so far has been one that's focusing on the beauty of the moment and the beauty of your own heart and spirit, and feeling that you can retreat into that as a sanctuary. Let's see what else Spirit will say to us about. Should we focus more on acknowledging the good of what has been achieved? Or should we be more in the focus of always looking for more, always looking for better? What serves us best? Okay, we have the Tower card, the Page of Cups. I do feel like there is a need, or they are saying that it is helpful to kind of look to the past and to those moments when there has been like really significant change that has really toppled the existing structures, the oppressive structures that exist in the world. And again, to find hope, to find the love in that. This was disruptive energy, right, that brought about that change, but it was necessary change. But you can see how that force, although it was disruptive and perhaps chaotic, brought about more love in the world in some way. So yes, they do want you to be able to look at the past, to look at history, and see the love that came of it. And I'll go back to this. Trust the past to God's mercy. Yeah. There are things that happened in the past that obviously we can't change. Some of this change came about in a way that was perhaps violent or chaotic or disruptive in some way. Good came of it, but it required maybe like the power of, the power of this tower moment to kind of clear away what was not good. And yeah, so trust the past to God's mercy. If there's anything that was negative or not constructive about this moment in the past, allow space, I think, for God to have mercy on that aspect of it. Trust the present to God's love and the future to God's providence. So yeah, I definitely get a sense of like we can learn from the past. There's so much we can learn from the past about love. And what is this 2-1 saying? Yeah, about love and about how we could, have the same level of change come about in the future, but maybe without that level of chaos or disruption or violence. I mean, the Tower card could even mean violence. That we can look at, yes, progress was made in those moments, but if we look at it with love and with God's mercy, we can also look beyond it to see how that could be replicated now in the present or in the future, but in a way that maybe is lacking the part that requires mercy, if that makes sense. Yeah, it's like to focus it just on love. So in terms of the question that was being asked, should we appreciate the present more or always be looking for more? I think Spirit is saying both. Appreciate how the past has brought us to the present and also learn from the ways in which the past has brought us to the present. So appreciate this present moment that was brought to us, but also we're noticing how the past brought it to be, and from that place we can look towards something better that can be brought about also in a way that is better than how it has at times been brought about. Okay, this is making sense so far. To me, at least. Your guides are saying, don't allow yourself to be limited by the ego's way of achieving success. We're humans and we can't escape the ego. So if we look at the past and moments of change in the past, we will always find certain examples of how progressive change happened, but there may have been like a presence of ego that was involved in that process of change. But they don't want us to be limited by what worked in the past. And they definitely don't want us to be limited by the ego or feeling that, drawing upon the power of ego or asserting ourselves over other people, that it has to be that way. Because if that's the only way we can achieve it, then we're not even going to be able to look to a broader future, because we're not going to be even able to imagine a future that's better if we can only get caught in this loop of continuing to bring about change in the ways that have worked in the past. We'll never really get, and we'll never really appreciate what the future holds either. Yeah, because it will never be that workable future that we hope to create. And I think just the final thing that they're saying is that we don't have to make a choice between appreciating the moment in a way that gets us stuck and being excited about the future in a way that keeps us from appreciating the moment. We can do both things. We can appreciate what has been achieved and really honor and respect that, and we can simultaneously be actively working towards the future. So it's not an either or. And I'm asking my guides here when I pull this last question, okay, so why did you have me to write down this question? If it's not about either or, then what was the point of this question? And they said, we wanted to be able to give you the opportunity to really think and gain wisdom about how this beautiful, bright, loving world is possible, but how it requires progress. I mean, the question itself is asking about progress, but progress happens on a continuum of the past, the present, and the future. And it's a process of healing. And so healing in and of itself is a journey. We don't just jump from the point of illness or unwellness to the point of being completely healed. There's a journey. It's a continuum. You take the journey from illness to wellness, and everything that you experience in between is necessary to get to that point of wellness. So everything that has happened up to this point, of course, it's something to be grateful for, because if it hadn't happened, we wouldn't get to that point of collective wellness that we're seeking in seeking a better world, a better, more loving world. Okay. Final thoughts, the devil. What is the devil wanting to tell us about all this? Sometimes we don't even see the grip that ego has on us. Sometimes, I think they're saying that even in the past, when we focus on these, when we look at these tower moments and we're like, oh, well, that brought about change, but we might be judgmental about if violence was utilized to bring about that change, or if some disruptive force was necessary to bring about that change that maybe was unpleasant, or if people were hurt in the process. Our guides are saying sometimes we don't even see the grip of the ego on us, or we're so held in the powers that be, the oppressive powers that currently exist, that we're chained to it. It's hard for us to act differently because we're chained to these oppressive systems. So if we're acting from within those systems, and if we're being kind of like this energy sometimes trying to change things, it's because we're trying to loosen this grip. We're trying to break these chains that are holding us to the toxic, oppressive patterns that have so long existed in the world, for thousands of years. This isn't anything new, oppression. So your guides are recognizing that, maybe this disruptive energy came from ego, but we don't totally understand ego, and we don't understand everything about why we are so shackled to this, why humans have been shackled to this oppressive energy for thousands of years. There are things about it that we still don't understand. And if we have felt the need to be disruptive in this tower energy in the past in order to bring about this better world, Spirit is just kind of asking us to have patience with ourselves, patience and tolerance for ourselves. And to understand that it came from a place of love. Even if something quote unquote negative came of it as well, or was the result of it, ultimately these actions were taken. If they were taken in the name of love, then remind ourselves of that was what it was. It was the power of love. And perhaps it seemed that there was no way out other than to take that path. And perhaps there wasn't another way out. Perhaps the only way to break these chains in certain circumstances was to, engage in a very disruptive energy. Because there was a lot to be disrupted. There was a lot to be dismantled. And they're just reminding us that, you know, we have not completely evolved yet. So we can't expect ourselves to have evolved to the point of only being able to exist in love at all times and to only bring about change through love at all times. You know, we're continuing to evolve. We are who we are. We're beautiful, we're bright, we're loving energy. But we're also people who have, you know, lost touch with our complete innocence. We'll never be completely innocent because the world is tainted. As soon as we come into the world, we are tainted with the world and by the world. So it's hard to exist completely in separation from that. And it's a struggle. They're just reminding us of how difficult this struggle is, that we're having to move away from the very thing that we are chained to. And sometimes that makes us angry. And sometimes that makes us want to exert ourselves in ways that may not always appear to be very loving. And they're saying that this is a way of taking control, but it isn't actual power. It is merely the mask of power, or it's like a mirage of power when we do that. If we want to be more in a place of power, what we would be doing, instead of like exerting ourselves with violence or with domination against those that we're chained to, or the structures that chain us, is to be in a place of achieving the highest ground possible and always be trying to defend ourselves against that negative use of power. So be in the higher position and be able to maintain that higher position through holding back the influence of abuses of power, I think, is what's being said. I hope this is making sense for those of you who chose number 3. But they're saying that, you know, we never are going to be able to make progress in life if we don't have patience and tolerance for both aspects of who we are. There's the ego self, there's the higher self, vice versa. It doesn't matter which one of these sphinxes represents each. You know, it's arbitrary, but we have to have a balance of both. In order to really progress, we have to have tolerance for our own selves and for those throughout history who have been doing similar work and maybe have engaged in things that we wouldn't necessarily condone ourselves. If we can't accept that and tolerate it, then it's going to get us stuck as well, so that we can't move forward. So yeah, I mean, I hope that makes sense. A broken arrow. Yeah, this broken arrow, it wants to shoot in the right direction, but we do need to sort of repair the way that we've been handling all of this, so that not only can we be directed in the correct direction, but we can do it in a way that will stick, in a way that will really matter, that will really substantially change, not just a momentary change or a momentary relief, but something that will last, a change that will last. Okay, I hope that this makes sense. I think I'm going to have to go back later after a while and re-listen to this one myself to really let it sink in. So anyways, I hope it makes sense to you guys. But in any case, thank you so much for watching. I love you very much, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.